Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another week of our community conversations on Instagram Live. For those of you who don't know, my name is Krista. I'm in the youth programs at NAMI San Fernando. And today we're going to be having Jillian Reeves, actor, writer, director, as a guest star on our series, so I'm really excited about that. Gonna go ahead and just wait a couple of minutes for a few people to hop on, and then we'll go ahead and get started. Hello. All right, Jillian, I see you're on, so I'm going to go ahead and wait a couple minutes for a few people to join, and then I'll go ahead and bring you on with me. All right. Oops. Okay, and then a really quick announcement, we have dropped our mental health first aid. That's our first one is going to be on October 3rd from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. First come, first serve, so sign up now. You can sign up in the link in our bio. It's just in our link tree, and you'll be good to go. So go ahead and get that. Get on that if you're interested. It's going to be really cool. I highly recommend it. So yeah, I'll go ahead and bring you on, Jillian. Let's see. Okay, sent the request. Hello, everyone joining. All right, Jillian, I'm not sure if you see the request there. Oh, let me try again. And then if it's not working on your end, Jillian, you can request to be on. Oh, there we go. Perfect. Hello.
Hi. Oh, wait, let me plug my earpiece in. Running around. Sorry, 1 second. There we go.
All right, can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me? How is this?
I'm perfect. Awesome.
Awesome. Good.
All right, how are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing well. Thank you. This was it was a busy day. My first day back in-person auditions out here. So I have to stop at a Starbucks and steal their Wi-Fi to call you.
All right, well, we're so happy that you're here joining. So you mentioned auditions. For those of the audience who don't know you quite yet, can you go ahead and just introduce yourself, what you do, who you are, all that?
Sure. My name is Jillian Reeves, and I live in Los Angeles. I'm an actor here. I write and just directed a piece, as you know, on mental health. So, yeah, commercials and TV and film. I've been on all three. And yeah, so it's been really fun this last year to be on the other side of the camera. A lot of work, but a lot of fun, yeah.
That's really cool, really interesting.
Yeah.
So with that being said, I know you're working on a movie, I want to say it's called Broken, correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
About that, I understand it's about mental health, and can you just kind of talk about how you're using your platform to speak out about issues regarding mental health?
Yeah, sure. So Broken is it's actually a short film. We are in a festival coming up called Urban Film Fest, and then we just got into another film festival that is escaping my mind right now. But that film festival is awesome because it's called Real something, but it really highlights films about mental health. Whereas Hollywood can sometimes see those films as, oh, this year we're going to focus on this. And, this film festival really seeks to always be a voice and highlight these issues. So it's really about a family struggling to get the daughter help. And it is sort of coming from a caregiver perspective. NAMI has that great peer-to-peer program where different people who are affected, brothers, sisters, mothers, fathers, husbands, wives of people suffering from mental illness. So that was kind of what I was trying to highlight, and to show how difficult it is to get treatment for a loved one with mental health issues, especially once they're over 18. And in California, it's so difficult if they are non-compliant, if they don't want you involved, or they don't want you to know anything, or they don't, there's really so little you can do. And so I also wanted to highlight that, because NAMI also guides people through like guardianship and conservatorship type things. And they'll be the first to tell you, as well as anyone in one of the groups, how difficult that is. An absurdly high bar, I kind of feel like, in California. And I don't think we kind of know it. So I thought dramatizing that would be a really good way to show it. I thought different, sometimes you think of documentary or what's the best way to sort of convey this message. And so I thought dramatizing it and would kind of maybe draw people in, get them thinking about the story about mental health in a way they haven't before. We follow the little girl from the time she's young and going to school, promising to, and she has a breakdown in like her, in her first year or two of college. And so also just trying to make people rethink, like, when we see someone who's clearly struggling with mental health issues on the street or wherever in our lives, to kind of humanize them, like it is somebody's daughter or son or brother or sister or, parent. And, they had a trajectory. And I just feel like if we all recognize that and then try to figure out how to better support, how to change the system to offer more support, that we can save these lives that are so valuable, but that are now so vulnerable. Yeah.
Absolutely. Wow, that's incredible. That sounds really, really incredible. Um,
Yeah.
so what's some of like the biggest takeaways you've gotten from this short film so far? Because it sounds like it captures so many different things. Um,
Right. Well, I'd say one of the biggest things is how many people have who've seen it or who contributed. We did a whole Indiegogo thing. How many people have a story that's similar? Often the hashtag will be 1 in 4, because at any point in time, 1 in 4 people are suffering from a mental illness. But I think because it is still so, such a stigma, such a thing we don't want to talk about it. It's something that people want to keep private and not share. They don't talk about it. But because I'm so open, it's been amazing how I'd say like 99% of people have a story about how mental health or mental illness has affected their lives. And so I think, and it is a difficult subject to broach, and it's, you want to be, you want to represent everyone well, but also really show the issues that are happening. And so it was a challenge that I hope I was able to pull off.
yeah, I'm sure you did great. I mean, just hearing
Yeah.
it's important. What you're doing is very important. I think,
Yeah.
like you said, 1 in 4, so it's so much more common than people think, and yet still
So much more common.
stigma and silence, and there's just too much that involve, like, people are just so afraid to talk about. Um,
Right. And people still don't really acknowledge it as a real medical condition always. So I also started a podcast. Yeah, that we're on episode 4. I just posted episode 4 yesterday. Just having people sharing their stories, because I feel like the more we can share our stories, then it will shed a light in this place, and you no longer have to have secrets or not talk about this. Like, you can actually, we can, I hope to one day think of mental health like physical health. You know what I mean? Like, if you're not ashamed to take insulin, if you're diabetic, then I don't want them to be a person to have to be ashamed to take medicine or therapy or do whatever that they need to do. And then I think also one of my big things, I know I'm going on. So lastly, one of my big things is I think that the more we talk about it, the more we push mental health to the forefront, the more money will flow into research and development and figuring out, the brain, one of the most important organs in our body. And I think if we just understand like that, these things are not made up. They're not, just because you don't have to see a tumor to have cancer. Like, we don't have to see this thing for it to be an issue. So those are the things I'm hoping that at least bringing some attention and some awareness will do. And I know a lot of families that are estranged, because like I said, once someone reaches a certain age, there's so little you can do. And so family members feel like they have to protect themselves if the person isn't med compliant or hasn't, really embraced the fact that they might have a mental health condition. And that's so touching to me as well. So just wanted to really highlight what happens when mental illness goes untreated. Like, I think that is what really causes stigma, because when you think of a person with mental illness, you're thinking of these outlandish movies or something. And I think so. I think that the more we can gather around treatment, get better treatments, then the less that stigma will be. There was a parking guy. I thought I was going to get a ticket, but he's cool.
You're in your car, so
yeah, I know, and it's on, so I'm not parked.
Next question, though, you mentioned, like, in movies you see all these outlandish portrayals of mental health, mental illness.
Yeah.
So from someone who is, in Hollywood, you're an actor, writer, director, how would you say that Hollywood contributes to these stigmas? Because we're so easily and heavily influenced by the media, and what we're seeing from the media is what we do. Yeah. So what would you say is, like, some of the biggest misconceptions that we're gaining from media?
I think the biggest misconception Hollywood has perpetuated is that people with mental illness are dangerous people. I think studies would show that they are actually often the victims of violence and victims of abuse, not the perpetrators of violence. But then, you have things like, Psycho or any sort of, horror movie where the person is just out of their mind and set to do harm. And I think it's such a negative stereotype. I think it's why things often escalate to such a horrible degree when police are called. That's another thing I try to show in the film. So I think that's by far the worst stereotype that Hollywood has perpetuated. And Hollywood is a place of generalization and stereotype in general, whether it's ethnically or, culturally. So I definitely, I will say more recently, I think maybe there's some more honest portrayals, I haven't seen, I think, Homeland, but I've heard that that's a really great depiction of bipolar disorder. What was that Bradley Cooper movie? Silver.
Right.
What was it called? Scream, Silver something.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Silver Linings Playbook.
Oh.
Yeah. That was also with Jennifer Lawrence. That was also a more human depiction of, bipolar disorder. So hopefully there's progress. I think everybody is becoming more aware of what we put out there and their ramifications. So hopefully that continues.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it's so important. Everyone's consuming these things. It should be accurate.
Yeah. And also only showing mental health in that, like I said, in its untreated, exacerbated state. So again, that's why I'm super big on treatment, better treatment, med compliance, all of those things, because I think, one, it gives the person an opportunity to just fulfill their potential. When I see untreated mental illness, that's what I think. I think, look at all of this lost potential that could be affecting their town and cities and families and the world. So that's, I think I answered the question about Hollywood. But yeah, hopefully we're making progress. Hopefully that progress continues.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you keep emphasizing, and I totally 100% agree with you, like, we just need more treatment for mental illness and mental health. And
more treatment, less stigma, because I know with my personal experience with the people in my life who manage their mental illness, a lot of times the med compliance was because they didn't want to be associated with the illness.
Mhm.
The illness had such a stigma. It was almost like, I don't have that. I don't need it. I'm not a part of this group. And that is a shame. And I'm sure, I think that is definitely a product of, the terrible psycho movies, just the things that you see all the time. And so hopefully we can reinvent that. I see people online doing amazing things, really taking back some of the language and in using it and not being ashamed. And so the more we do that, the more that happens, I think the farther we'll go and the faster we'll get there.
Yeah, 100% agree with you.
Yeah.
So if you don't mind, would you kind of just share a little bit about your own mental health journey and what you've experienced, whether it's with yourself or some loved ones, just kind of.
Yeah. So one of my very dear loved ones who has not accepted the fact that they have a mental illness, so I try to be careful about their privacy. It's sort of how I came to NAMI and to the world of mental health. Because honestly, before I saw it very up close and personal, I don't think I gave it that much thought either, to be perfectly honest. Um, but my loved one has. So for people who don't know, people can get multiple diagnoses as they are on their mental health journey. So it can change. So initially it was schizoaffective disorder was the diagnosis. And then since, in the last year or so, maybe it's kind of gone to the bipolar 1. So that's sort of a mix of a mood disorder and a thought disorder. So that's paranoia and delusions, inability to control emotions, just a gambit. And it is difficult, and I had no idea what to do at first. I had never actually been inside an institution, and that was really scary, dropping someone off there and kind of not wanting to leave, and not wanting to leave them, but then knowing like something is so wrong, I don't know what to do here. So that was new. And it's definitely an experience, and I didn't know what to do, and I started researching, and we for a while were at UCLA, like there's different clinical trials that go on, that are seeking to research and expand treatment, see what the better options are. And then I found NAMI and their peer-to-peer program, and that was really helpful because they go through every mental illness. They really let kind of give you permission to feel how you're feeling, help you understand like what this new journey is, and also help you see things through the person's eyes, so that you kind of broaden your perspective from just your own, and so like what might they be thinking, how might they be feeling that might be contributing to their behavior. So NAMI, not really, I probably, yeah, I can't imagine. I can't imagine what the journey would have been like without NAMI and their peer-to-peer program. It was really just a lifesaver for me.
No, that's so awesome. That's so great.
I wish all my family went. The unfortunate thing is, like, all of the family didn't go, and so it's hard for people to understand when they don't understand. It's just it's like, unless people just sort of remember a person before their breakdown or before the onset, and they can't wrap their mind around that there's a new problem that isn't something that you just need to have a really stern conversation about.
Yeah,
It's like, and so sometimes family can be harder than strangers, actually.
I totally agree. Um,
Yeah.
so with that being said, you did mention, prior to coming face to face with mental health, mental illness, and then even like in combination with, family members not necessarily understanding, and I can relate with that too. I didn't really think about mental illness until I was confronted with it.
Yeah.
So how would you say we could go about, dealing, not dealing, I want to say, but like just confronting mental health, mental illness, and just talking about it and being aware about it before something happens, just getting that conversation started.
Right.
before we're confronted with a very specific situation, you know?
Yeah, and I really feel like I was talking to Maya St. John. Um, her husband was Christoph St. John, who was on Young and the Restless for a while. They had a son who unfortunately passed away due to suicide. He had schizophrenia. She was telling me that they're actually going to start teaching mental health in some like elementary schools. I think that would be great to teach it along with health, along with everything else, so that it isn't something foreign that you need to then think about later. Because a lot of families aren't doing it. A lot of families don't understand it. So I actually think that would be great, like advocating for it to be included. Just on another random note, I was reading, I think, a Facebook post or something, and it was talking about how a little girl was at a pool and wanted to play with this boy, and he was mute autistic, and apparently Sesame Street has a mute autistic puppet, so the little girl was super familiar with this situation that wasn't even, that her family may not have brought up, but she saw it from media, right? So that is kind of why I was like, I wanted to create media to start that conversation. But otherwise, I think you just have to really educate your family to the largest extent possible. And it has to start with us, because if no one else is doing it, then, and maybe it can start with just, how are you feeling? Because there's a gambit of mental health issues, and I think we are becoming more comfortable talking about things like depression and anxiety. I think when you get to the bipolars and the schizophrenias or the schizoaffective disorders or borderline personalities, that's still not as mainstream. Bipolar is becoming more and more, because you have, celebrities that are very honest about it. So I think that's my thing. I think being very honest. Like I said, I would just bring it up. Somebody would say, "Oh, how is this person doing?" And I'm like, "Well, it's a difficult time." And the more I shared, I was stunned. One of the girls on one of the podcasts, after I told her, she told me that she had, had a really rough period, had ended up in an institution, tried to commit suicide. I've known her for 10 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it was just like me sharing my story that then opened the door and gave permission to other people.
Ah, wow.
So I think that's what we have to do. It's a tough road, though. Yeah.
Really tough, but I mean, it's like, if, sharing your story, just like you said, opens the door, and it's like, makes more people comfortable, and it just this ripple effect. So I think that's so awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, and then maybe even asking people about themselves, because I think everybody is dealing, especially with COVID, with some low-grade depression or anxiety that people may be so used to living with that they don't even recognize it. Because, especially our parents' generation, I think they were so used to just coping and dealing, so they didn't have the time or the luxury to really think about what was going on with them. So, even giving them permission to feel and think about what they've been through, and how that was difficult and what that might have done, maybe can be an impetus for them to see things in a different way.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think that's so important. Like you said, we're in such a strange time right now that it might be hard to recognize, like, oh, maybe I am feeling anxious, maybe I am feeling depressed.
Yeah, you cannot not be feeling anxious right now. Like, you cannot. It's impossible. I don't believe anyone who says it. I don't believe it.
Oh, absolutely. So, as someone who has a loved one, managing with mental illness, what are some ways that you make sure that your mental health is doing well, and how do you take care of yourself?
Oh yeah, it's that is difficult. It's really difficult if they're living with you, which that was the case for a time. It's hard, and you have to draw boundaries for yourself, which can be hard as women, I think, and just maybe in general, because people like whenever you're open to anything they want and anytime they need you. So like drawing boundaries is hard in general. But it is really hard when you're dealing with someone who is dealing with mental health issues, because they're doing things that is because of their illness, right? They don't always know how to respect a boundary. if they are, in the throes of a breakdown or off their medication. So I think the thing you have to do is figure out how to draw boundaries, how to know what you can do and what you can't do. I think I thought I could solve everything in the beginning. I'm like, okay, we'll just research it and fix it, so I think just giving yourself some grace, that you're not going to always do things perfectly. Just like a person dealing in the midst of a crisis needs to give themselves some grace afterwards as well. Like, we're not going to always do it perfectly. Try not to, I see somebody, try not to take things personally. But when you do take it personally, give yourself grace and try to draw boundaries. And take time for yourself when you need to, I think, and just and I think everyone has to just be covered with just an enormous amount of grace to the extent possible. Like, we're so hard on ourselves often, and sometimes it is very hard to separate the person from the illness, even though it is so necessary. But it's a difficult thing. I can't sugarcoat that. It is a difficult thing.
Absolutely.
And the film, which is, I was very, it ends very open-ended, just in a state of frustration, because you don't know what the person is going to do. Like, is it going to break up the family, or are they going to keep fighting? And that is something that I've seen families deal with. Like I said, I know families that a friend of mine hasn't seen their son in, years, and that just breaks my heart. And so I really think the more we can really just embrace this situation, fight for the changes that we need, you know what I mean? It does not make sense for it to be so hard to get someone help. I think there should be a way that we can respect people's rights and privacy, and not let them fall through the cracks when they don't understand that they're ill. That seems to me to be an outrageous thing that we're allowing to happen. And I think it's so strange that, we see it's so pervasive in Los Angeles. And I just think it's so strange that California ignores these facts, and you know what I mean, and does very little to support who are some of the most vulnerable among us. It is an outrage, I think. So.
Geez. And, we appreciate people like you who are using their platforms in different ways to shine light on this, because it's so important.
Yeah.
So if anyone in the audience has any questions, now would be a great time to ask it before we start wrapping up. In the meantime, Jillian, do you have like a special quote or something that you kind of like just love to live by? If you mind sharing that with everyone?
Oh, well, for mental health, well, I think maybe my new thing for mental health and life is share our stories. Like, share your story. Your story can help set another person free, or give them hope or inspiration, or just that knot at the end of the rope to hold on, because they know that they're not alone. So whatever your story is, I don't think you have to be ashamed of it. And I think it can help someone. So absolutely, share our stories.
I love that. That's so true.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, God, I can't. Just everything you're saying is just so wonderful.
It's such a non-invisible but seemingly invisible problem. Like, we see it everywhere, and I feel like, our institutions and government and so many things just ignore it, like they are invisible. But it's because they don't have the power, you know what I mean? It's like, and because they can't advocate for themselves, nothing changes. So I think if we speak out, and the families and the loved ones come together and demand things change before awful things happen, you know what I mean? Like, it is necessary. So, hopefully, like, we just finished the film, and now it's kind of on the festival circuit, and but I'm hoping that it can also be used as a teaching tool. I'm going to try to speak with some members of Congress, because I think the dramatization sort of I just think people don't understand. Of course, like we just said, people don't understand. so, so seeing them, seeing it, hopefully will help people's imagination become broader, and they can, they can actually envision a situation that they haven't seen themselves personally.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so so important. I believe
Yeah.
the audience asked, where can we see the short film Broken? Is there like is like a platform that's available to the public?
Well, it's in festivals right now, so you can see like the trailer um, on Instagram where the movie Broken, and then and then we also have a website broken.movie. And you can see the trailer there. It was gonna, with COVID, it sort of did this whole crazy thing with the festivals. So I may actually just put it out there soon so people can watch it, because we're not really doing festivals right now anyway, are we? We're all social distancing. So,
Yeah.
but it's an Urban Film Fest that's coming up, I think, next month.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, keep us.
Yeah,
I would love to see it. It just sounds so
for sure.
all needs to just watch and understand. So yeah, I can't wait.
For sure. And then my podcast is on Instagram at Join Jillian. I mean, the podcasts are on YouTube. We're just doing them over Zoom. So, if anyone has a compelling story and they want to share, like, they can totally DM me and we can talk about it.
Yeah, that's so cool. All right, I will be sure to let people know about that because that's really cool.
Awesome.
All right,
Yeah.
we're reached the end of our conversation. Unfortunately, I was talking. But thank you so so much for being here today. I think it's really important to have your perspective on the way you're using your platform. Is so incredible, inspiring. Again, thank you so so much.
Thank you so much. And thank you for volunteering and giving your time to this important cause. I appreciate you as well. Thank you so much.
All right, well, have a good day. Have a good day, everyone. I'll be back
Okay.
on Instagram Live tomorrow at 6 p.m. If you can catch it, that would be awesome. I'll see you then, and thank you so much again, Jillian. Have a good rest of your day.
All right. Thank you. Thank you guys for watching.
Bye.
Bye.